Nididhyasoratmamaya Hridayam nirabhidyata Tato manaschandra iti Sankalpah kama evacha Nididhyasoratmamaya Hridayam nirabhidyata Tato manaschandra iti Sankalpah kama evacha Nididhyasoratmamaya Hridayam nirabhidyata Tato manaschandra iti Sankalpah kama evacha Nididhyasoratmamaya Hridayam nirabhidyata Tato manaschandra iti Sankalpa kama evacha Nididhyasoratmamaya Hridayam nirabhidyata Tato manaschandra iti Sankalpa kama evacha Nididhyasoratmamaya Hridayam nirabhidyata Tato manaschandra iti Sankalpah kama evacha. Synonyms. Nididhyaso, being desirous to know. Atmamayam, own energy. Hridayam, the location of the mind. Nirabhidyata, was manifested. Tataha, thereafter. Manaha, the mind. Chandraha, the controlling deity of the mind, the moon. Iti, thus. Sankalpaha, determination. Kamaha, desire. Eva, as much as. Cha, also. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. When there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, and all desire became manifested. Purport. The heart of every living entity is the seat of the Super Soul, Paramatma, a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without His presence, the living entity cannot get into the working energy according to his past deeds. The living entities who are conditioned in the material world are manifested in the creation in terms of respective inclinations inherent in them. And the requisite material body is offered to each and every one of them by the material energy under the direction of the Super Soul. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter 10th verse. When, therefore, the Super Soul is situated in the heart of the conditioned soul, the requisite mind is manifested in the conditioned soul, and he becomes conscious of his occupation as one is conscious of his duty after waking up from slumber. Okay. Yeah, I will share the rest of the purport. I will read the rest of the purport. Yes. Yeah. Ahead, Srila Prabhupada says, therefore, the material mind of the living entity develops when the super soul sits on the heart, after which the mind, the controlling deity moon, and then the activities of the mind, namely thinking, feeling, and willing, all take place. The activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart, and the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, this particular chapter is speaking about Virat Purush, and this particular verse is in front of you. Nididhyasor Atma Mayam Hridayam Nirabhidyata Tato Manas Chandra iti Sankalpaha Kama Evacha. That when there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, the heart, which is the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, and all desire became manifested. The devotees, this concept of Virat Purush is not easy to understand for many. Therefore, it is important to clarify what is Virat Purush and how can we perceive Virat Purush. Because unless we understand what is Virat Purush and how the whole thing is working, how his manifestation is working, the entire chapter doesn't make sense. The devotees, let us try to understand something about Virat Purush and what is it that Virat Purush does and how is his presence relevant to our lives. Dear devotees, when the universes were all created in the beginning, that is called as Sarga. Sarga is primary creation of all the universes. Before that creation, there was Pralay. Pralay means the entire material creation was dissolved. It was in a dissolved state. And all the material creation was in a dissolved state in the body of one particular form of the Lord. Can anybody tell me which particular form of the Lord? Karanodaka Shai Vishnu. So Karanodaka Shai Vishnu is also known as Sankarshan. The devotees, within him all the living entities were present during the time of destruction, and the living entities were undergoing a state known as Sushupti. Sushupti means deep sleep. Sushupti is when sleep is so deep that you don't even perceive your own existence. Even in this body, sometimes when we are very tired, we become so exhausted and we go into the state of deep sleep. And this deep sleep is characterized by our forgetfulness of our own existence. So there is a statement in the Upanishad, Sukham aham aswapsam na kinchit avedisham. After waking up, the person says, I am so happy, I didn't realize anything. So I slept so happily, I didn't realize anything. Then how do you know I slept happily? So the reason is because the effects of sleeping happily are seen after waking up. After a person wakes up from Sushupti, they feel happiness in each and every limb of the body. Then they say, oh, I slept so happily, I couldn't realize anything. So this is called Sushupti. In Sushupti, what happens is temporarily all the functions of the senses merge into the super soul within the body. Temporarily all the functions merge. So the living entity loses the sense of identity, and it is said that it is equivalent to the pleasure of merging in the impersonal Brahman. And the living entity again wakes up. At that point of time, the living entity says, oh, I was so happy, I didn't realize anything. Of course, you are having the feeling of merging in the impersonal Brahman. So, similarly, when all the living entities were sleeping in the body of Karanodaka Shai Vishnu, so sleeping is good, it will take place for some time. After some time, there was agitation in the heart of the living in the living entities there was agitation because their tendency to perform karmas is still there. So after a certain time, the living entities start feeling agitated because we have been sleeping for long. That's how a person wakes up from sleep. A person is sleeping, suddenly the body starts producing some action by which we will wake up. So then Bhagwan became merciful and thought that alright, let these living entities continue their activities. So he manifested all the material universes. So all the material universes are known as Brahmand. Our particular universe is also known as what? Brahmand. But these Brahmandas, they were empty in the beginning, empty shells. Because there was nothing happening inside that Brahmanda. So our Bhagavan entered into each and every Brahmanda. And he was known as the second Vishnu. What is the name of the second Vishnu, dear devotees? Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. When he entered into each and every universe, then it is said that he had a desire. And this desire is expressed in the Upanishads. It's in front of you, dear devotees. Please repeat after me. Tad aikshata ekoham bahusyam prajayeti. Tad aikshata. So he saw that particular creation and he thought, ekoham, alone I am. Bahusyam, let me become many. And prajayeti, let me manifest the material creation. So initially, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu was alone in this universe. Then he thought, ekoham, alone I am. And these living entities from the previous creation, they are agitated, they are waiting to begin their activities. Bahusyam, let me become many. Prajayeti, let me manifest creation. Dear devotees, therefore, each and every living entity was then, they were filled in the universe. But before these living entities can be filled in the universe, we need to give them bodies. So how do we give them bodies? This is a big question. Even Brahma needs to be given a body, isn't it? Before Sri Brahma he can start manifesting the creation. Sri Brahma also needs a body. Now body means you need to have senses. And what are the senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. These senses need to be there for each and every living entity. Amongst all the living entities, the greatest number of senses are present in human beings and above. I hope you are able to understand. The human beings and above have the greatest number of senses. There is no living entity who has any sense greater than the number of senses that we humans have. Even devatas, etc. also have the same number of senses but better capabilities. But same number of senses. So you have to be given 5 senses, he has to be given 5 senses, all of you have to be given senses. But who will give these senses and who will give the body? So he who has created the universe has to give the body and give the senses. I hope you are able to understand this fact. So before Brahma can start creating, somebody has to give the entire framework to Sri Brahma. That living entities have bodies, bodies have so many senses. Now dear devotees, therefore a living entity is also known as Purusha. What is the living entity also known as? Purusha. So we are all microcosmic, we are tiny Purushas, tiny Purushas. In the Bhagavad Gita, Kshetragya, the name is given. What is the meaning of Kshetragya? The one who knows the Kshetra, the field. This body is the field. But if this body is the field, I, the living entity, knows this particular field. So in that sense, the living entity is microcosmic Purusha. I hope you are able to understand. Living entity is what? Microcosmic Purusha. The living entity controls this particular body, whichever body you are situated in. But dear devotees, the original person who gave everybody all the facilities is Virat Purusha, macrocosmic living entity. Now, what is Virat Purusha? We have to try and understand. It is said Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. What is the meaning of Sahasra, dear devotees? 1000. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. This personality has 1000 heads. Srila Sridhar Swami, while commenting, says 1000 means unlimited. 1000 actually doesn't mean 1000 exactly. 1000 means what? Unlimited. What does it mean? Dear devotees, wherever you see heads in the universe, where do you, in this assembly, do you see heads? Yes. These are manifestations made by which Purusha? Virat Purusha. Sahasra Shirsha, Sahasraksha, do you see eyes? Sahasrapat, do you see feet? So dear devotees, who originally manifested these heads, hands, eyes and feet? Which Purusha manifested this? Virat Purusha. Because let's say if you want to create something, tomorrow if I want to create something, I should know that function myself before I can put it in some other object. If I want to create a fan, I should be aware of the function of spinning. If I am not aware of the function of spinning, can I create a fan? No, I cannot create. So if everybody has to be given a body with 5 senses, the Virat Purush or Bhagwan also has to know the function of how many senses? 5 senses. But Bhagwan's body is material or spiritual? Spiritual. So how can Bhagwan manifest material senses, and how can Bhagwan manifest the senses of all these living entities which are purely material senses? So Bhagwan has to become the macrocosmic Purush, also known as Virat Purush. Dear devotees, now what I am about to explain is a concept which is most important in understanding this entire chapter. Once we understand this concept, we will be able to understand this chapter very easily. In the entirety of Vedas, when our Bhagwan Vishnu, he manifested the Vedas, he manifested the Vedas with 3 bhavas, 3 moods. And these 3 moods have to be understood because these 3 moods are present everywhere in the universe. These 3 moods originally came from the Vedas, and once we understand this technicality, it will become easy to understand Virat Purush. Dear devotees, please repeat after me. The first bhava or the first mood of the Vedas, please repeat, Adhibhuta. So the whatever material you see in the universe, whatever material objects you see in the universe, this is known as Adhibhuta. What is it known as, dear devotees? Adhibhuta. Those who study the Vedas to attain material objects, they are studying one particular mood of the Vedas. Which mood of the Vedas they are studying? Adhibhuta. So they follow one kanda. Which kanda do they follow? Karma kanda. Because karma kanda leads to which results? Material results or spiritual results? Material results. So material results, anything material that you see in the universe, it comes under Adhibhuta. By the term Bhuta, Panchabhuta, you can understand what is Panchabhuta, 5 material elements. So Adhibhuta, anything material that you see in the universe comes under the category of what? Adhibhuta. Second, please repeat. Adhyatma. Dear devotees, what is the meaning of Atma? Soul. And Atma also means Paramatma, super soul. There are 2 meanings. So anything in the Vedas which is connected to attainment of the soul or attainment of the Supreme, it comes under one section. Which section does it come under? Adhyatma. Those who want to realize the Supreme and merge with the Supreme, they follow this section, and this has another name. Which kanda is known as Jnana Kanda. Dear devotees. And then Bhagwan also manifested the third. Please repeat. Adhidaiva. If somebody wants to attain the personal feature of this Lord, so he is called as Deva. And then this section of the Vedas becomes known as which Kanda, dear devotees? Upasana Kand. So Vedas are divided into 3 Kands: Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Upasana Kand. And these 3 have technical names in the Vedas. What are the technical names? Adhibhuta, Adhyatma and Adhidaiva. These 3 now we should memorize. What are the 3? Adhibhuta, Adhyatma, Adhidaiva. I hope you are able to understand. Now, dear devotees, Virat Purush filled the entire universe with these 3 modes: Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhyatma. In the entire material creation, dear devotees, in this chapter it will be described. First and foremost, this Virat Purusha manifested the element of sky. He wanted to hear something. What did he want to do? Hear something. Because unless he hears, can any living entity in the universe hear? He has to create all the entities. So for any living entity to hear, first he should know how to hear. So first and foremost, he took one element. Which element did he take, dear devotees? Sky, Akash. In that sky element, he produced the Bhuta, the material property. What property, dear devotees? Sound. And then he produced Atma. What the living entity will experience? With which sense organ will the living entity experience? Which sense organ? And then he appointed a Daiva. He himself became the Devata, the presiding deity of that sense organ. And the presiding deity of the ears are known as Dig, directions. There are 10 directions. They are the presiding deity of which sense organ? Ears. Dear devotees, when we are hearing, there are some Devatas which are helping us hear. Which Devata helps us hear? Dig. Some living entities are unable to hear. They are born without the capacity to hear, or they lose the capacity to hear. This is because a particular Devata is no longer cooperating with their bodily functions. Which Devata is not cooperating with their bodily functions? Dig Devata. Then the Virat Purush desired that I should also be able to touch. So then, which element was manifested, dear devotees? Air, Vayu. And what is the aim of touching? What is the purpose of it? So I can touch various things. Sparsha. Which sense organ was manifested? Skin. And which deity was put in charge of that? Vriksha. So Vriksha Devata is in charge, Adhidaiva, of that. Dear devotees, then only hearing and touching will not do. I also want to see. So if I want to see, the Virat Purusha desired, I want to see. So then one element was manifested. Which element? Fire. And then the object of seeing is called as form. And then which sense organ manifested in the Virat Purush? Eyes. Because he has eyes, therefore all of us also have eyes. And which deity was put in charge of that? Surya. Dear devotees, if Surya disappears at this moment, will we be able to see? Be honest. Yes or no? Oh, there is so much light here. All this light originates from the sun, dear devotees. All electricity, all sources of light originate from where, dear devotees? Sun. So if the sun stops manifesting, gradually the entire world will be filled in what? Darkness. If the room becomes pitch dark, will we be able to see? Nothing. So you need the presiding deity. Which deity is needed, dear devotees? Surya. So Surya resides within Netra Golak, within each and everyone's eyes, but as an amsha, as a small fragment. A small fragment of Surya Dev is present within our eyes. A small fragment of Vriksha is present within our skin. A small fragment of Dig is present within our ears. Then only seeing, touching and hearing is also not enough. No. Why did we make Govindas? So that we can taste. Not eat. We can taste. So dear devotees, then the Virat Purush desired that I should taste. So then which element was manifested? Water. Let's say all the water in our tongue dries up. all the saliva dries up. Will we be able to taste anything? Nothing. The dear devotees, so the Adhibhuta, the object is taste, the Adhyatma, the sense is tongue, and the in charge of tongue, dear devotees, who is that? Varun. So one small portion of Varun Dev stays within our tongue. And finally, he desired also to experience aroma, fragrance. So which element was manifested? Earth. Then aroma, and then the sense organ is nose, and the presiding deity is whom? Vayu. In vacuum, can we smell anything? No. Vayu is needed. So I hope you are able to understand. So these first manifested in which Purusha, dear devotees? Virat Purush. And then Virat Purush has taken these forms everywhere in the universe. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. Wherever you see heads, wherever you see eyes, wherever you see tongue, wherever you see ears, actually they are originally manifested by which Purusha? Virat Purush. These are known as Gyan Indriyas. All these five are known as which Indriyas? Gyan Indriyas. Besides Gyan Indriyas, we also need which Indriyas? Karma Indriyas. So this very chapter describes. Then the Virat Purush had a desire, I want to grab objects. But you can't grab objects unless you have one sense, which Karmendriya? Hands. So in order to, that Adhibhuta, the material element is the object to be grabbed. Adhyatma, the sense which you are going to use is the hands. So first and foremost, Virat Purush manifested hands. And then who was the in charge deity? Indra. Then he not only simply hands are not enough. I also want to walk. So in order to walk, you need a place to walk in the universe. So destination is the Adhibhuta. The sense organs, feet, are the Adhyatma. And the presiding deity is whom, dear devotees? Bhagavan Vishnu is the deity. Then he also wanted to have the power to speak. I want to speak. So in order to speak, you should, the object is suitable words. The sense organ is speech. And Adhidaiva, the deity in charge is whom, dear devotees? Agni. Finally, he also wanted to have the power of sex. Power to procreate. Because that is Virat Purusha. Whatever is seen in the body of the microcosmic Purusha is also seen in the body of the macrocosmic Purusha. So this Purusha had the desire, I want to procreate. So the object is to get sex pleasure. So he manifested genitals, and the deity in charge of the genitals is whom, dear devotees? Prajapati. Finally, he also had a desire that from time to time I wish to remove material impurities from my body. So power of evacuation and discharging waste is the aim of that. So the anus, which is used to discharge waste, was manifested, and the deity who is in charge of it is Mitra. If any one of these deities stops cooperating, you have a problem with that particular sense function. So these are five which Indriyas, dear devotees? Karma Indriyas. Because the Virat Purush manifested all of them, today we have all of them, dear devotees. If the Virat Purush originally would not have manifested, we would not have any of these senses. Today, this particular Virat Purush, even now, he does something. What does he do? Through each and everyone's eyes, he is looking through at the universe. I hope you are able to understand. Virat Purush is looking at the universe through each and everyone's eyes. What you are seeing through your eyes is different from what the devotee at the back is seeing. Is different from what the person walking on the street is seeing. But there is somebody who is seeing through everybody's eyes. Who is seeing? Which Purush is seeing through everybody's eyes? Virat Purush. He is seeing through everybody's eyes. The fragrance that one particular living entity is experiencing is different. Somebody else may be experiencing a different aroma. But there is somebody experiencing through all the noses. Which Purush is that? Virat Purush. Where can you perceive Virat Purush? You can perceive the Virat Purush everywhere in the universe. Therefore Arjun said, in the Gita it is said, Sarvata Pani Padam Te. That everywhere are his hands and feet. What does it mean? That wherever you see hands and feet, the devotees, at that place somebody is manifested. Who is manifested? Virat Purush. So when it is said that God created man in his image, that is correct. God created man in his image. But God also resides in man's image. And not in one man's image. He resides in every man's image. And he experiences the universe through each and every living entity. So this, dear devotees, is Virat Purush. His hands and feet are everywhere. Everywhere they are present. So dear devotees, this concept of Virat Purush is also explained in the Upanishads very nicely. Please repeat after me. Pranasya pranam uta chakshushas chakshur uta shrotrasya shrotram annasya annam manaso ye mano vidu. Pranasya pranam. He is the life of the life. Today we are living because we have pran, because originally somebody had pran. Who originally had pran? Virat Purush. He is breathing through our prana. Pranasya pranam. Chakshushas chakshu. He is the eye of the eye. I hope you are able to see. He is the eye of the eye. This is in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He is the life air of the life air. He is the eye of the eye. Which means if we are seeing something, who is the ultimate seer? Is the Purush the ultimate seer or the Virat Purush the ultimate seer? Virat Purush. Therefore it is said, Naham Karta, I am not the doer. Actually, who is the actual doer? Virat Purush. He is the actual doer. So it is he who is seeing through everybody's eyes. He is the eyes of the eyes. Therefore it is said, he is the eyes of the eyes. He is Shrotrasya Shrotram. He is the ears of the ears. Annasya Anyam is the food of the food. In other words, he is the mouth of the mouth. And Manasoye Mano. When we are thinking, actually, who is thinking through everybody's mind? Which Purush is thinking? Virat Purush. Manasoye Mano is the mind of the mind. Therefore, I want to bring it back to the current verse. Dear devotees, the current verse was saying, when there was a desire to, what, dear devotees? Think. Oh, Virat Purush had a desire to think. But how can you have desire to think? Isn't it self-contradictory? If you don't have the capacity to thinking, how can you think that I will have capacity to think? I hope you are able to understand. It's as good as saying he had the desire to desire. That sounds logically impossible. But Virat Purush originally is a spiritual person. So even without having a material sense organ, he can have that desire. So he had a desire in his spiritual body, and as a result of that desire, the heart, the mind manifested. Manas, tato manas, actually the mind manifested. And who is the presiding deity? Chandra. The moon is the presiding deity. So who rules over the mind, dear devotees? Which presiding deity rules over the mind? Moon. So somebody has a mental issue, dear devotees, they tell you you should wear a ring with moti. Moti means pearl, because it is said to influence one deity. Which deity does it influence? Moon. And Chandra is the devata of the mind. And once Chandra is in control, one who has, depending on the location of Chandra in your astrological chart, either you will be a very emotional person, a very hard-headed person. Depending on where Chandra is placed in your chart. So somebody who has Chandra in the, in the 12th house, they say emotional person, like that. So similarly, moon is the controlling deity of the mind. So this moon became the controlling deity. So the desire was to think. The adhibhuta, the object is various material thoughts in the universe. The Adhyatma, the sense organ which he manifested, what was, dear devotees? The mind. And the Adhidaiva, who is the in charge deity, dear devotees? Chandra. So if you can understand the entire chapter through this, Adhibhuta, Adhyatma, Adhidaiva, the entire chapter is only about these three things: Adhibhuta, Adhyatma, Adhidaiva. And those who are not able to understand the chapter is because they are not understanding in this fashion. So who explained in this fashion? Srila Sridhar Swami, the original commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, Jagat Guru Sridhar Swami Guru Karimani. Understand Sridhar Swami to be Jagat Guru. Never underestimate the commentary of Srila Sridhar Swami. From his commentary, all other commentators have understood. And it is he who told us that originally Bhagavan created the Vedas with three feelings, three bhavas. What are the names of the three bhavas? Can anybody tell me? Adhibhuta, Adhyatma, Adhidaiva. And you will, the more you meditate on this, Adhibhuta, Adhyatma, Adhidaiva, more you will realize Virat Purush. Dear devotees, all of you are seeing things. The I is what? Adhibhuta, Adhyatma or Adhidaiva? Adhyatma. What you are seeing, the object, is which factor? Adhibhuta. And the deity of the sun who is helping you see is which? Adhidaiva. I hope you are able to understand. So we all are microcosmic Purushas. Does the sun reside entirely within our eyes or only as a small fragment? If the sun resides entirely, we will not be able to exist. This Purusha cannot tolerate the entire sun residing within the eye. But there is one Purusha whose original eye is the sun itself. Which Purusha has the sun as its eye? Virat Purush. Virat Purush. The moon is controlling the mind, which means a tiny fragment, amsha of the moon is present within our mind. Because if the entire moon literally comes, we will have tidal waves within our mind, dear devotees. We will not be able to tolerate it. Moon has immense effects. But the entire moon is the mind of which Purusha? Virat Purusha. And we are small, small manifestations of which Purusha? Virat Purusha. This is the entire understanding of Virat Purusha. So if somebody asks, is Bhagavan present everywhere in the universe? Sometimes in India people say, tum mein Bhagavan hai na, theek hai na. So in you there is Bhagavan. Of course, that is Vedic philosophy. In one sense, all of us are manifestations of, tiny manifestations of which Purush? Virat Purush. In that sense, Virat Purush is residing, is acting through our body. He is seeing through our eyes. He is hearing through our ears. In that sense, yes, Bhagavan is present through within us. But in a macrocosmic sense, he is present everywhere. Everywhere are his eyes, everywhere are his feet, everywhere are his hands. This, dear devotees, is Virat Purush. Now, this is a concept which is very easily known to those who understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very easily known. Henceforth, if somebody asks, is God present everywhere? What should be our answer? In form of which Purush? Virat Purush. Does he see? Through whose eyes? Through everybody's eyes. Does he hear? Through whose ears? Does he taste? Through whose tongue? Everybody's tongue. So this is Virat Purush. Now, all the great sadhus, sages, they know this. One of the sadhus is Shri Narad Muni. He is the guru of the personality who composed the Bhagavatam. He is the guru of whom? Shri Vyasadeva. One fine day, Shri Narad Muni in Dwapar Yuga, he wanted to see Bhagavan's pastimes in Dwaraka. So one fine day, Narad Muni ended up where? In Dwaraka. In Dwaraka, Narad Muni went there and Narad Muni suddenly looked at something and got the biggest surprise of his life. This surprise is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. Something was taking place. It's a small image, but you can see Narad Muni on top right. And Narad Muni is witnessing something. There are some things happening simultaneously. The Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 69th chapter, 2nd verse describes, please repeat after me. Chitram batai tadekena Vapusha yugapat pritha Griheshu dvyashta sahasram Striya eka udavaha. Narad Muni says Chitram, amazing is something. But etad ekena vapusha, in a single body, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is simultaneously marrying 16,000 ladies. Dear devotees, Sri Jiva Goswami asked a question. Narad Muni went to Dwarka and saw there are simultaneous marriages taking place. How many simultaneous marriages are taking place? 16,000 simultaneous marriages are taking place. So it is called marriage, is called Pani Grahan. You know what is Pani Grahan? The groom accepts the hand of the bride. Pani Grahan. So, how many hands does the groom have? Question arises. How many hands does the groom have? Bhagavan Shri Krishna, how many hands does he have? Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. How many hands are there? Thousands of hands are there. In one direction or all directions? All directions. So, there are 16,000 princesses who are waiting to get married. He saw 16,000 Krishnas simultaneously doing Pani Grahan, holding the hands of these princesses. So Jiva Goswami asked, why should it come as a surprise to Narad Muni? Doesn't Narad Muni know about Virat Purush? He is the guru of Vyasadeva who wrote Bhagavatam. Narad Muni knows about Virat Purush. Why is Narad Muni surprised at this point of time? So a question arises here. Somebody should answer this question. Why should a perfected sage like Narad Muni be surprised when he saw Bhagavan Shri Krishna marry 16,000 princesses at once? So here carefully, dear devotees. Virat Purush, the form is mainly material form. Which form it is, dear devotees? Material. The form is material form, totally. But what Narad Muni saw was Shri Krishna's spiritual form, and that spiritual form, how many Shri Krishnas did he see? One or two, or how many Krishnas did he see? 16,000 Krishnas. But I had seen only one Krishna take birth from one Devaki and one Vasudeva. I hope you are able to understand. How many Krishnas appeared from one Devaki and one Vasudeva? One. Where did the remaining 15,999 come from? Somebody may say, oh, it is Virat Purush. Narad Muni said, no, Virat Purush has material senses or spiritual senses? Material. This person who is getting married is having material senses or spiritual senses? It's not Virat Purush. No. This is not Virat Purush. And Virat Purush, every hand is different. Your hand and my hand are same, Prabhu? No. Here, 16,000 hands appear to be the same. 16,000 eyes, no, sorry, not 16,000, 32,000 eyes. 32,000 eyes appear to be same lotus-like eyes. But Virat Purush, all eyes are not lotus eyes. Not all of us are gifted with which eyes? Lotus eyes. So Virat Purush doesn't have all lotus eyes. But what he saw, 16,000 simultaneous Krishnas. And when he saw 16,000 simultaneous Krishnas, Narad Muni understood something, dear devotees, at that point of time. Please hear carefully. Narad Muni understood that not only is Bhagavan present everywhere as Virat Purush, Bhagavan is also present everywhere in his spiritual form. Do you understand what is the implication of this? Between you and me, Prabhuji, your good name? Baldev Shakti. Baldev Shakti Prabhu. Between you and me, is Krishna present? See, he is a little hesitant. Huh? Is Krishna present between you and me? Yes? See, you have to say loudly yes or no. Otherwise, a doubtful answer won't do. Is Krishna present between me and this mic? As Virat Purush or in his personal spiritual form? Also as Virat Purush, obviously. And also in his personal spiritual form. Dear devotees, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is present in his spiritual form everywhere. You have to repeat with me something, alright? Will all of you repeat? Krishna is present everywhere, in all sizes, in all forms, in all directions, and all incarnations. So dear devotees, between me and the mic, is Krishna present? Yes. Oh, means these Krishnas did not descend from anywhere. These 15,999 Krishnas were always present here. They simply switch off and switch on. I hope you are able to understand. When Krishna is sitting between his friends, you can see that painting there. You know, Krishna is sitting in a big group of Vrajavasis. He is giving. Every Vrajavasi has a particular feeling. What does every Vrajavasi feel? Krishna is looking only at. How many Krishnas do you need in order for that to happen? As many Vrajavasis as there are. You are correct. But every piece of grass has to think that Krishna is looking at me. I hope you are able to understand. How many Krishnas do there have to be? Every bird has to think Krishna is looking at me. How many Krishnas do there have to be for this to happen? So this, dear devotees, is called Prakash Vigraha. It's not called Virat. It is called which Vigraha? Prakash. Prakash is replica. This is not an expansion. What Narad Muni saw was not an expansion. Expansion is called Amsha. And for expansion, you have to have an original personality from whom everybody has expanded. But here in the Dwarka, there was no one Krishna from whom 15,999 had expanded. There were 16,000 original Krishnas. You ask everybody, everybody will say, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narad Muni got the biggest surprise of his life at that point of time. My goodness, I did not realize that this person is not present everywhere simply as the impersonal Brahman. There is another level of reality in which Krishna is present. It is called impersonal Brahman. What is it called? Impersonal. It has no form, no taste, no touch, nothing. And there is another level of reality where all form, all taste, all touch, Virat Purush. And then there is another level of reality where spiritual form, spiritual name, spiritual senses. Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. All these three are simultaneously omnipresent everywhere in all directions. When he realized this, that Bhagavan is also present as Bhagavan everywhere in the universe, that is what gave the biggest surprise to Sri Narad Muni. Bhagavan is omnipresent. This, dear devotees, is what surprised Narad Muni. So therefore, dear devotees, the impersonalists, the Jnana Yogis, they meditate on the all-pervasive Brahma. We did not discuss Brahma today. Brahma has no form, no shape, it simply exists everywhere. It doesn't interact with anything. It doesn't have a gender. It just has a name, and also it has a name because we have to give it a name. That is our limitation. Otherwise, originally it has no name. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Words bounce off it and don't give any meaning. That is called as Brahma. So this, dear devotees, is Brahma. The impersonalists aim for that. Virat, Purush, Paramatma, the eyes of everybody's eyes, the heart of everybody's heart, the hands of everybody's hand. Who meditates on the Paramatma, dear devotees? Ashtanga yogis. And Bhagavan present everywhere. Who meditates on Bhagavan? Which yogi, dear devotees? Bhakti yogi. So here all of us also accept the omnipresence of Bhagavan, not only as Virat Purush, not only as Nirvishesh Brahma, but also as spiritual Bhagavan. And that is what Narad Muni realized. Dear devotees, nobody planted Narasimhadev in the pillar. I hope you are able to understand. Nobody planted Narasimhadev in the pillar. Did Narasimhadev come one day before and plant himself in the pillar? Since how long was Narasimhadev present in the pillar? Eternally. Only Narasimhadev was present, or Vamandev is also present there? We have to clarify these questions, otherwise we'll think only Narasimhadev is present in the pillar. Acha, only in that form or also in a tiny form he is present? How many forms? One form or all forms he is present? How many directions? One direction or all directions? Ito Nrisimha, Parato Nrisimha, Yato Yato Yami, Tato Nrisimha, Bahir Nrisimha, Hridaye Nrisimha, Nrisimha Madim, Sharanam Prapadye. There is a meaning to that, dear devotees. Ugram Viram Mahavishnum Jwalantam Sarvato Mukham. Everywhere are his faces. This, dear devotees, is Virat Purush. So, although we know this Virat Purush, we should understand one thing, that I'll conclude with this verse. Although Bhagavan is present everywhere, but when Shri Brahma was manifested from the navel of Bhagavan Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Brahma sought him out. Brahma wanted to find him. And Brahma wanted to find him, and after a lot of meditation, Brahma got darshan of his personal form. Isn't it? And whenever the earth is in trouble, in the beginning of 10th canto, crying Bhumi, she goes to Brahma. And whenever the earth is in trouble, she goes to Brahma. Brahma ji at that point of time went again to the ocean of milk, and he prayed. And then Bhagavan Vishnu gave him a message. If Bhagavan is present everywhere, why does Brahma ji have to go everywhere? Why does he have to go to a particular place? So the devotee commentator Sri Harishuri explains in a very wonderful manner, dear devotees. This verse is in the meter Shardul Vikriditam, same as Shad Goswami Ashtakam. I'll sing, please repeat after me. Loke vyapak eva yadyapi vibhu satyam tathapi ishtado. Dhyeyo dhyan jusha sametya bhagavan prasadame vojvalam. Sadvartmedamiti vyabodhi vidhina dugdhabdhima jagmusha. No chet swasthala eva sarva vidasau chakre na yogam kuta. Sri Harishuri is asking everybody a question. Please answer this question. Loke Vyapaka Eva Yadyapi Vibhu. Is our Vibhu, our Lord, not Vyapak, not present everywhere? Yes or no? Yes. Alright? Tathapi Ishtado. Tathapi, still. Ishtado. If you want to pray for something specific, you don't pray in the air. Alright? Deyo Dhyan Jusha Sametya Bhagavan. If you want to pray for something specific, Prasadam, come to the temple and see Bhagavan. Evo Jvalam Sadvart Medam. This is the proper path of approaching Bhagavan. If you want to, although he is present everywhere, the proper path, if you want to pray to him, you should approach Bhagavan's own home, which is the mandir, dear devotees. This is Sadvartma, this is the classic path followed by the Mahajanas. And this was shown by Brahmaji when earth came to him. No chet, if this is not the case, he asked, couldn't Brahmaji Chakre Yogam, he couldn't have sat in his own place and did Ashtanga Yoga and meditated on Bhagavan? But did Brahmaji sit in his own place, or did he go to a place to visit Bhagavan? What did Brahmaji do? He went to a particular place. So dear devotees, there are many people in India who are lazy, ki Bhagavan is everywhere, so pray in the air, But that is not how it works. If you want to pray for something specific, follow the example of the original Acharya, Shri Brahma, and visit the mandir, Shri Radha Gopinath. Because here you will find everything, dear devotees. You look at the paintings, you will find, last time I had pointed out. You see here, dear devotees. You can see there you can see Jai Radha Madhav. Alright, can you see Radha Madhav there, dear devotees? On the swing, okay? And they are in the Kunja Bihari. Can you see, dear devotees? They are in a Kunj. The devotees here, and in that painting you can see Gopi Jan Vallabh. You can see Bhagavan with many of the gopis. Can you see there, dear devotees? And there behind you can see Girivardhari. Behind there is a painting of Bhagavan holding Giriraj. And here you can see Yashoda Nandan. And here you can see Braja Jana Ranjan. All the and in this middle painting you can see Yamuna Tira Vanachari. You will find everything, dear devotees. You find the entire song in this set of paintings here. Alright? So you will get your respective desires fulfilled if you approach a specific form of Bhagavan. Alright? So with this, I'll conclude my speech for today. Yadatra Skhalitam Kinchit Vidvam Saha Purayantu Tat. Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit Tad Guroreva Me Nahi. Yadatra Skhalitam Kinchit. It is possible I might have made a mistake while speaking something. Vidvam Saha, but you are all intelligent devotees. If I have made any mistake, Purayantu, you correct any mistake. But Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit. But if there is anything nice, please remember. Tad Guroreva. I learnt everything from my Gurujanas. Me Nahi. It is not mine, dear devotees. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Do we have time for Q&A? Yes, all right. So, if somebody wants to ask something, now is the time. There is one Mataji here and some Prabhus here. So, we'll take.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for a very nice explanation about Virat Purusha. I just wanted to clarify this point, Prabhuji. As you spoke, Virat Purusha, when we are talking about Virat Purusha, it is manifested in the living entities. So, Prabhupada also writes somewhere that it's an imaginary form of the Lord. So, what exactly imaginary? If it is imaginary, then how it is like manifesting in the...
Yeah. So the form is called as Kalpita. Kalpita means imaginary. That's the term used in the Bhagavatam itself, Kalpita. What is the meaning of Kalpita? At any point of time, this form is not stable. It is constantly changing. Are new living entities not taking birth right now? Yes or no? Are old living entities not dying right now? Yes. So Virat Purusha's hands, feet, eyes, are they staying the constant or are they changing? At one point of time, if you have to visualize the Virat Purusha, you will have to do Kalpana. You cannot directly see the entire universe. So you will have to do Kalpana. It doesn't mean that the form is mithya. Often when we say it is imaginary, the meaning of imaginary we take is mithya, false. The form is not mithya. but you have to imagine the form, because it is impossible to visualize it in one picture. I hope you are able to understand. So when yogis, they start meditating on Virat Purusha, because Purusha is Paramatma. There are three Paramatmas: Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. All three are Paramatmas. Karanodakashayi is the Paramatma of the entire material creation. Garbhodakashayi is the Paramatma only of this universe. Kshirodakashayi is the Paramatma of each and every atom and each and every living entity. When the Ashtanga Yogi wants to realize Paramatma, at that point of time he has to also focus on Virat Purush. But how can the yogi visualize Virat Purush? So the yogi has to do a kalpana. What is the kalpana? An imagination. That everywhere I am seeing hands. These hands are actually belonging to which Purush? Virat Purush. Everywhere I see faces. These are faces of Virat Purush. So Virat Purusha's conception has to be imagined in the mind. It exists in reality. It is not mithya, but the yogi has to do a great deal of imagination to visualize that Virat Purush. So that is what it means. So I hope, please don't take it as mithya. The world is not mithya. Jagat Satyam. If we say Virat Purush is mithya, then all of our senses will also become what? Mithya. Virat Purush is Satya, but the yogi, you cannot visualize Virat Purush like you can visualize Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. Hai ki nahi? Huh? Because Shri Radha Gopinath, how many hands does Gopinath have?
2 hands.
2 hands. You are confident, Prabhuji? He has 2 hands?
Is manifesting his original form of Lord Krishna, who has, but he
like
can,
a Gaudiya Vaishnav say, how many hands?
Yes, 2 hands.
Ah, that's the confidence required. All right, huh? So 2 hands he has. Now you can visualize him easily, isn't it? Therefore, deity form is merciful. We say, na, deity is merciful. Krishna is very mercifully appeared as the deity. Because if he wouldn't appear as the deity, then we would have to do that kalpana. And that kalpana is not easy. Believe me, it's difficult to do that kalpana. And Arjun got scared when Arjun was shown that kalpana. Arjun got scared when Krishna said, now I will show you. Arjun, see. Nahi. Hare Jai. Shri Radha Gopinath ki Jai. Now can you see Radha Gopinath? Oh, still. Santah Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. The devotees always see Bhagavan within their heart. Alright, so this we should understand. So it would be very difficult for us to visualize Bhagavan if it would not be for Shri Vigraha. This is the importance of Shri Vigraha. Bhagavan manifested as Shri Vigraha to save us from the trouble of meditating on Virat Purusha. Alright, so I hope that answers your query. Okay. So there is a question from Mataji's side. There is one query. Let's give it. Okay. And Prabhuji, please tell me when to stop. After this question, we'll pause. All right. This is the last query. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Do desires come from the soul or the mind?
Do desires come from the soul or the mind? The origin of all material desires is avidya. Avidya is beginningless ignorance of the absolute truth, is called avidya. Because the living entity doesn't know what is the absolute truth since beginningless time. Therefore, the living entity is covered by avidya, and this avidya is nothing but a function of maya, the material energy. Once maya is covering the living entity, maya generates in the living entity various desires. So the living entity starts seeing what is not real as real, what is temporary as permanent. And that is where the desire, vasana, sets in. And from vasana comes karma. And from karma comes karma phala, the result of. So there is a chain. Today we are experiencing good or bad reactions. This is called phala. Phala has come because we have performed karma, some activities in the past. Karma happened because we had vasana, tendencies since infinite previous lives. And vasana is there because since beginningless time we are covered by avidya. ignorance of the absolute truth. Now, because of this, we are having desires, because these desires are material desires. Once we get knowledge of Bhagavan, avidya is gradually removed. Chetah darpana marjanam. When knowledge is received, avidya is removed. Avidya is removed, then the living entity can clearly understand that actually I need not have any material desires. Then the living entity has a path to select. Do I want to merge in the absolute truth? If they merge in the absolute truth, they merge in the impersonal Brahman, Brahma Jyoti. Do I want to realize Paramatma within the heart? So they realize Paramatma, then they can select whether they want to merge into Brahma Jyoti or they want to have personal form. The Ashtanga yogis have a choice. And Bhagavan, do I want to surrender exclusively to the personal form of Bhagavan? Those who surrender to the personal form of Bhagavan, they go to the spiritual world where they are given a spiritual body, where there is Yoga Maya who influences them, they have spiritual desires. But those spiritual desires don't produce any karmic results. That body is eternal, and then you actually live happily ever after. So, that is it. All right. Okay. I hope that answers your query. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So thank you so much, Hari Parshad Prabhu, for your such a nice explanation, explaining all the concepts also right from the beginning, and also giving such wonderful answers to the questions posed by the devotees. So we are very grateful to Prabhuji for spending his time here and enlightening us with this very difficult concept of Virat Purush. We'll express our gratitude to Prabhuji by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!